All right, so once you've gone through the process of understanding how to prepare yourself to go in, or to get ready, rather, for a night out or a day out or wherever it is you're going to go, and you're prepared in the proper way so you're not too high energy, too low energy, nothing like that. It's all proper. The next sort of step that I'm going to cover here is the walking in process. I'm going to tell you a story that I don't have written down on my notes to tell you, but I just was reminded of a pretty funny story. But I'll start out with saying that walking into the environment that you're in, this moment that you walk in is everything. I know I covered this a couple of times, but the very specific first moment that you walk in, everyone will notice you who's nearby, and then their reactions to you are based on that. Everyone else's reactions in the room are based on their reactions. There's the first people who saw you, how they react to you when you first walk in. So it becomes a chain reaction. You'll walk in, the people who you first walk in, and people who don't like you or get a weird feeling about you, they start to react poorly to you, and everyone else sees them reacting poorly to you, and then they react poorly to you as well. So it can be a chain reaction. A chain reaction that happens and will ruin the venue and ruin the evening for you if you don't watch out. Then you have to switch places. There's a bar that I used to love to go to in New York City in downtown, and it was called Ulysses. And Ulysses was like an old, like sailor bar kind of place, like all old wood from old city in New York, you know. And it was right by the sort of port downtown. And I used to love going there for two reasons. One is that I could go there and disappear, meaning that I flirted with women for a living, you know. I picked up women for a living. I did not want to go to a bar and meet women. That's just kind of how it was. I wanted to go to a bar and be by myself and talk to the bartender maybe hang out with a friend, and that's it. I did not want to do anything else. I just wanted to take a break. So the interesting thing is that I can walk into a bar, and like Ulysses, where everyone knows me there, and if I don't do any of the stuff that I tell you to do, that I talk about teaching people to do, no one notices me at all. That's how you know you're not an attractive guy. Like, just physically, normally attractive, everyone's going to come up to you and start talking to you like drop-dead gorgeous dude. As you walk into a bar and people are like, oh my God, welcome to talk to this. I used to hang out with my old roommate, Eric, and Eric is like a Abercrombie model-looking guy, like really, really, really attractive. And I'd be at a bar talking, and he'd be standing there like this, not saying anything. And I've seen girls walk up to him before and go, "You're so beautiful." And he's like, "Thank you." That's it. He doesn't know what to say. So he never had any women really, but women liked him. He just could never get through what to do after that. You know, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of stages to go through after that. So for guys like me, I could walk into a bar, and I did often, and not open my mouth, and no one saw me at all. If I turned it all off, I could walk in and I could be completely anonymous. And that was really awesome for whenever I was doing this for, you know, all the time, going out all the time. And I had just sort of gotten burnt out for meeting women for a living, and I wanted to go disappear, I could, which is awesome. Really, really good. But if I turn it on when I walk in, everyone looks at me and everyone talks to me. And I remember, this is a story I don't have written down, but this is probably one of the most embarrassing moments in my life. Kelsey, you know this story already, but actually most people who know me know this story already, but I'm going to tell you the story of the drunkest I've ever been. Ever. So there's a guy named Kelly Kellum. Kelly Kellum and my friend Race the Priest wrote a book called Window Shopping for Women, which is a book on how to meet women online. And it was a really, really smart book. I thought it was fantastic. And Kelly was one of the best guys I'd ever met at going to a place he'd never been to before and just like giving everyone value. Like, hey, you're awesome. Look at you. Hey, get my picture with this awesome person. All right, cool. Hey, man, what's your name? You know, like just really, really cool. And everyone loved him, you know. And he would do that all the time, but I would never do that typically. I wouldn't really turn it on. And he'd heard stories about me before, you know, like turning it on and like going out and running a room basically where you go into a place you've never been to before and everyone's just like all over you all of a sudden. And we're sitting at the bar and we're having a beer. And I'm drinking a Guinness. And he's really trying to convince me to turn it on so you can see it. And I'm like, I always say the same thing, no. But Kelly's really, really persuasive. So he's like, oh, he said all the right things. He knows exactly what he's doing. So he said all the right things, and I was like, you know what, I never do this, but I'm going to turn it on for you. But pay attention because you're never going to see this ever again. And he's like, okay, you know. So I go, all right. I lean over and I tap the guy next to me, and I go, check this out. And the guy I don't know. And I start doing this thing on the bar, right? Some proposition bet, basically. I have a series of things that I would like remember that I could do that would be like bets that I could bet people, and then they lose, they buy me a drink, typically. And I would just do this for fun whenever I wanted to. I'd get free drinks, and people would gather around, and everyone would like it and thought it was really funny. And so I had one where I had a saucer, a glass of water, a lemon wedge, and a book of matches. I was like, you have to get the water out of the saucer into the cup without touching the plate where the water was, and without only using, without scooping it up. You have to just put the cup in and get this water in this cup some way with this lemon wedge and this matches. And actually, what you can do, the way to do it, is to take the lemon wedge, put it in the water, take a match, stick it on top of the lemon wedge so the part that lights is up, and then light it, and then take the cup and put it over, and it'll burn out all the oxygen inside the cup, and it sucks all the water up into the cup. So it's really crazy looking, really cool. No one guesses it. Hardly anybody guesses. So there's this huge group of people, mostly guys, and mostly Israeli guys. And they were all in the financial district, so they're all probably working for some bank. And so this story gets really intense in a minute. So I do this thing, and it's like, oh, hey, and he just can't do it, and I'm talking to him, like, try this. By 5 minutes after that, there's a huge crowd of people, guys and girls, everyone's around me, right? And Kelly's like, yes, I get to see this, And so the guy loses, I do it, everyone goes, yeah! And I teach him how to do it, he buys everyone shots. I was like, all right, I'm drinking a Guinness, so he buys me a shot of Jameson. And then I go, let's do another one. I do another one. Boom, I win. Hey. And I teach him how to do it. Cool, let's get another round. Another Jameson. All right, cool. Then his friend comes up. Hey, you're the guy doing all this stuff? Let me buy you a shot. And I was like, all right, shot of Jameson. And I had 7 shots of Jameson in 45 minutes and drank a Guinness. I wasn't even thinking. I was just kind of going and having fun. And Kelly was like, yeah. So I'm sitting on the bar, and I've got my beer. By the way, this is an example of me turning it on, right? This is what happens when I turn it on now. I have my beer, and I'm sitting here, and I'm just like, I have to go to the bathroom, right? So I go to Kelly, and I'm like, hey, I have to go to the bathroom. He goes, okay. And then I stand up, and I just go, whoa. I'm just starting to get drunk. I'm leaning, and I'm like, oh, no. So I put this down, and then Kelly turns around to see me, and I'm gone, and I'm like this on the wall, trying to find the bathroom. I get to the bathroom, and this is where it gets kind of intense. So I'm in the bathroom, and I'm like, I have to throw up right now. I didn't have to throw up. I wasn't going to vomit. I just really needed to because I was still getting drunk. So I just put my finger down my throat, and I throw up in the toilet, right? So it's a bar toilet. It's like gross bathroom, This is a downtown New York bar, And so I'm throwing up, but I'm still getting drunker, and I'm like fumbling with my phone trying to call people, and I can't see it very well anymore. And I'm going in an emergency zone, Kelly walks in, he's like, hey man, you okay? And I'm like, can't even talk. And he's like, okay, well I'll come back in a little while and check on you. So I'm sitting there throwing up, and I'm just like having a hard time breathing, where I'm like, And then all of a sudden I realize I have to take a shit right now. Not in 10 minutes, not in 5 minutes, but immediately. So I was like, okay, crap. So I pull my pants down, and I'm like, oh my God. And I go to the bathroom, right? I turn around, I flush the toilet, and I immediately have to throw up again. So I'm like, blah, I start throwing up, but I don't have time to pull my pants up. So I'm sitting on the toilet, on the ground, right there, on my knees, with the toilet seat up and my face on the rim of the toilet in a bar like this, like pubes and shit all over the bottom of the toilet, just gross, piss everywhere. And I'm like wasted out of my mind, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, pants completely naked, pants around my ankles in this stall. And Kelly walks in, and he's like, hey Josh, are you okay? And I'm like, no, go away. And he goes, hey, are you all right? And he does this, and he looks at me, and I'm on my hands and knees, my face in the toilet with my pants around my ankles. And the only thing I could get out of my mouth was, Kelly, please don't remember me this way. And he's like, let me get you home, So I ended up having to get my shit together, and he had to carry, help me get home, carry me home, and it was really embarrassing. But That's what happens when I turn it on now, so I try not to do that too much. But if I don't do that, I can walk into a bar, no one will notice me at all. No one will buy me drinks. No one will be all over me laughing. I won't be on my knees with my pants around my ankles. In the bathroom, puking in a toilet. That usually doesn't happen. So whenever you do turn it on, it all happens right as soon as you walk in typically. Now, I know how to turn it on later, which is why I was able to get into the bar, trying to be low-key, and then switch it. And I'll tell you how I did that later on when we get to the meeting women section of this process. But for all intents and purposes, if I'm going out to really have a good time and I want to be on, I start, again, before I get there by pumping my state. But it all happens as soon as I walk in the door. I have a series of things that I do that sort of set me apart from everybody else who does this, who's been teaching. And I'm going to teach some of those things to you guys now. Some of the stuff I've never taught before either, which is pretty cool. So, just want to make a quick note. If you go into a bar to meet women, like we talked about earlier, just like you're going specifically to try to hook up with chicks, typically what will happen is you'll start to drink. Halfway through the process, you will not be able to do that. So for the first half, you'll be building up the courage to do it, and the second half, you'll be too drunk to do it. And this is what happens to a lot of guys. They start drinking to try to get up the courage. They drink too much too fast, and they get drunk, and then they're stumbling everywhere and being retarded, right? And obviously, you don't want to do that. The reason why that doesn't work is because the girls have been watching you this whole time. So whenever you're not liquored up, you're standing there like this, looking around for a woman that's approachable so you can go talk to her. And then you get drunk and you're like, wah! And now you're like, okay, well, that guy's obviously got some issues and they won't want to talk to you. So here's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to go over is what's called pumping your state. We're going to pump your state right before you walk in the door. Now, pumping your state basically means that you're going to rush a sort of like endorphins through your system right before you walk in. And it gives you all the body language naturally that you need in order to be attractive. So you're going to do that. I'm going to tell you how to do that in just a second. Brad recently came to me with information that he found on people smiling, and I'd heard of something similar to this before, but I didn't know of this. There have been a lot of studies on what a smile does to someone. So when you smile at them, how they respond back. With the study that Brad found was that whenever you smile at someone, the amount of endorphins that's released in their system is the same amount of endorphins that get released if they were to walk down the street and find $25,000. The average person. That's what kind of endorphin rush you're giving the person that you're talking to and looking at, that you smile. Also, there have been studies that I've read where they've figured out how much more attractive a guy is. So they had a guy, they did split studies where they'd have a guy where he would walk in, he wouldn't smile, and a guy would smile. And 8 times the amount of women were attracted to him when he smiled. 8 times. It became 8 times more attractive when he smiled. So what you want to do is, by the way, there's several different ways to smile. All of them are wrong except for one. This is not a smile, right? We have, there are something called micro-expressions. Who's seen Lie to Me? That show, we talked about this yesterday. No one else has? You, only the people in the front row again? Lie to Me is phenomenal. We've only seen one episode. It's awesome. It's based on, who is it based on again? Who wrote that book? You want to find that information out for me? Do some research. Can you do it? Okay. I'll get that name in just a second. I just drawing a blank right now. There's been studies on micro-expressions, and these are the tiny muscles. There's lots of tiny muscles in our face that are involuntary. So we have muscles that we can't actually control that we only use whenever we feel a certain way, right? Whenever you're fake smiling, only certain muscles you can actually engage in order to smile in a fake way. Now, when you're actually smiling, you engage involuntary muscles that other people can see, right? So there's a huge difference between a fake smile and a real smile. A real smile you need to induce from the inside. A fake smile you can try to fake. You can just do it. You can just make it happen, right? So we'll get that in a minute. T. Harv Eker or something? Yeah.
Dr. Paul Ekman.
Oh, Paul Ekman. That's what it was, yeah. Paul Ekman, yeah. So if you guys, how do you spell his last name? E-C-K or E-K? E-K? M-A-N. Paul Ekman. Look up his stuff. He's quoted a lot in Blink, in that book I was telling you about, for doing these micro-expression studies. And basically the point behind understanding this is that it's so complicated and it's involuntary and so outside of your control that you have to control what makes you happy instead of trying to control a smile, right? So that's what I'm going to tell you how to do now. Essentially what I do, and what I suggest you do seriously, is right before you walk into a place, think of something that makes you laugh. If you don't have this thing already to think about, then you will not be able to do this. So I'm going to give you, we're going to go through an exercise in just a moment that's going to give you a series of these things to sort of, to call out, to pull out of your mind so that you can do them sort of at any given moment. So if you open up your workbooks to the next page, should be a pumping state exercise. 5 things that make you smile every time. So I'm going to give you some examples. One of my friends said that the thing that he thinks of right before he walks into a bar that makes him laugh is Peter Griffin's laugh from Family Guy. It's like, like that. And he said every time he thinks about that, he pictures Peter Griffin, he starts laughing. If you do this right before you walk in the door at a bar, everyone will see you, and 8 times the amount of women that would normally be attracted to you will be attracted to you. This is really important, right? This makes sense? If you walk into a bar and you're smiling about something that really makes you laugh, you'll have 800% better return on your positive reinforcement for women. So when you meet them, you'll get 800% better responses. 8 times the amount of women that would normally like you would like you in that bar. Keep that in mind. This is very important. And that will, again, compound because other women will see them liking you, and they will start to be curious because you'll be pre-selected, and it just makes things go a lot easier. So much is in this tiny little cross-section, this one little part of this interaction that most guys overlook completely. So what I want you to do is for the next 5 minutes, just take your time to write down 5 things that make you laugh every time you think about them. Every single time. And go ahead and do that now. Should be some little laughing in this process. It can be movie quotes, it can be characters, it can be someone that you know, something that you say, a joke, whatever. Something that's easy to remember now should be good. I kind of want to read yours, Brad.
Sunny, actually.
Oh, are they? Thumbs. Yeah. TV shows are great for this, definitely. If you have like TV shows you like to watch that are comedies, and there's some funny scenes in it that make you laugh, just write them down. Everyone's got 2. And they're like, what do I do now? All I had was 2 things that made me laugh, and that's it. When we came up with this, I forgot what I was thinking of. What I said was mine that I did. I know that I typically used to picture all my organs smiling and talking to each other, and that made me laugh. I don't know why. Like, I pictured all my organs being cartoons, and then Mom would be like, hey, I'm a kidney. And I don't know why that made me laugh, but it did. Dave Chappelle stuff always makes me laugh. There are like 100 Dave Chappelle things that make me laugh.
I'm going to picture you by the toilet.
Oh, in the toilet? Yeah, that's good. I walk in like this. But I thought about that every time I walked in. I just said that on video. That was immortalized. That's okay, though. Never mind. Apparently, I have nothing to hide. Let's get at least one more if you're still working. I like seeing everyone's smirks on their faces while they're thinking of these. All right, if you're writing one, wrap it up. And you can come back to this later on, obviously, and come up with a couple more. So these 1 to 5 things that you wrote down, who actually got 5? Anybody? Nobody? You all fail. Everyone leave. You really only need 1, as long as it keeps making you laugh every time that you think about it. So here's what you do. What I typically do is either write something down on a piece of paper and put it in my back pocket that has this on it. So every time I touch it, or every time I, or write it on my arm, because I have a lot of tattoos, so I just write it on my arm so I can look at it and see it. Anytime that you can reference this while you're out at a bar is a really good thing, because it allows you to have a really genuine smile on your face, and it attracts more women whenever you do it. Again, if you try to fake this, it won't work. If you could fake it, then we would all know how to do that already. I'd like to go around the room and hear one from everybody. So, Franklin, go ahead. Yeah, sure.
No, it's really, really cool. So I was practicing, body language and walking, and I thought I had perfected my walking really, really, really cool. So I'm coming, and this is recent, into this bar the other day, and I'm like doing like a cow walk, really slow.
Yeah.
And there is this table, and I tripped over the table, and they were like a really nice couple eating some romantic dinner, and I almost spilled all the drinks. I stopped over them, and I just like choked the woman, like, cool. And I was like, so embarrassed, but that for me really, makes me smile, because I'm like, so cool, and the first thing I do is like, boom.
Awesome. I guess that speaks to the embarrassment you're going to experience by using the stuff that I teach you. Awesome. You want to go?
I listen to a lot of comedy stuff. So.
Oh yeah, Mitch Hedberg makes me laugh really hard. Sorry, that and what's the other guy? The guy who lives in Venice. Dimitri Martin. Dimitri Martin's another guy who makes me laugh my ass off. What was one of yours that was the funniest? Let's see. Get yours real quick.
I would like say it. I don't know if it makes any sense to
Okay.
anybody. Really thing that's popular in college is people send out what they call memes.
Yep.
So I go listen to little pictures of the situation, just like little pictures.
What's one that made you laugh?
One I made of my friend. We called it like douchebag Mark. And the line is, he tells girl he's gonna pull out, doesn't.
Oh, that's the I've seen that before. There's a whole bunch of those. Okay.
What's the one?
What?
Gonna pull out, doesn't.
Tells girls he's gonna pull out and then doesn't. Okay. What was yours, Brett?
I think it was talking with Brad the other day. We were talking about catastrophe and ridiculous.
That sounds funny though.
Yeah.
A catastrophe. Awesome. What do you have?
It's just a funny way he says it. It always makes me kind of smart.
All right.
Rex Grossman, quarterback. There's this article that he's kind of known for taking risky passes and always getting picked off.
Uh-huh.
This article where it's like satirically written in perspective. He's like, oh, is that 600 miles open in the flat? Fuck it, that's for pussies. I'm throwing it downfield.
Yeah.
Oh, is he triple covered? I don't care. I'm launching it.
Yeah.
You guys are pussies.
Yeah.
It's really hilarious.
Awesome.
Always makes me laugh.
Awesome.
We should start like
A list?
conversation of.
Yeah, that was a great idea.
Because it seems like everybody's just making it.
Yeah. I think it's. Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. What's yours?
The comedian Franklin Ajay did a skit called Mickey Mouse High.
Okay.
And it's just Mickey Mouse talking about how tough it is to have a high voice and not to have a penis and all that. and everybody thinks he's so cool. Everybody wants to be Mickey Mouse. It sucks being Mickey Mouse.
All right. What'd you have?
Well, it's more of a personal one. I had been started dating this woman, and we spent the 4th of July up at this cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really prim and proper. And all of a sudden, she comes like dancing across the living room floor, half naked, with a little hat on, waving a flag. It's like so out of character.
That doesn't sound too bad. That's probably going to be working a lot of levels, actually. What do you think? What's one of yours?
When I was growing up, we lived out in the country. We had to take school, bus to school. My brother's 4 years younger than me, and he hated getting up out of bed. I was one always had to do with my
Uh-huh.
So one morning, I played the trumpet, and I went to try to get him up. He wouldn't get up, so I put the trumpet right next to his ear and blew it as loud as I could. Like on those Bugs Bunny shows where they jump up at it. That was him. Jumped up out of bed. He thought the world was coming to an end.
I think they do that when people are riding in the passenger seat of my car. And when they do they tow semi trucks, they'll tow them one's forward and one's backward. They're like towing the other semi truck. You get right behind it, and they're asleep, and you go, "Ah!" And they wake up and they say, "Oh, my semi truck!" Go ahead with yours.
When I was younger, I would often try to do things to embarrass my mother, so my father would say, "Just go."
That's funny.
We were in the supermarket, and the look of terror on her, she was running away from me because I was acting like I was mentally retarded. Mommy, why are you running from me? I love you. I wasn't running, not very well, and looking back with terror.
Wow. Well, that sounds, yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. So you have these things. If you have an iPhone, by the way, iPhone now has location-based reminders, so you can actually set a bar that you're going to that night and set a reminder that when you get to the bar, it sends a notification to you that says the funny thing that you want it to say. So right before you walk in the door, your phone beeps and you look at it and it makes you laugh and you can walk in. That's really cool. You have to have iOS 5 or greater for that. You have to be upgraded. But that's really funny. That's an idea you can use. You can also write on a piece of paper and then walk up, or have friends. If you have a friend that you can joke around with, that you're going there with, make sure you're constantly making jokes the whole time that you're walking up. And right before you get in, you have to just get some zinger that makes them laugh really hard. Because the people that you're with, if they're not laughing or smiling or not happy when you walk in, that brings everything down for you. It has to be, everyone around you has to be smiling. And when you do that, you'll get really, really positive responses from people. So now that you have these one or more, but more than one and less than 5 things, everybody, you have written down, make sure that you use this right before you walk in. Anything you can think of. If you're waiting outside of a place you're about to walk into, it's worth it for you to sit there until you think of something that makes you laugh and then walk in. The I'm Gonna Piss on You song from Dave Chappelle makes me laugh really hard. That's one of my favorite ones ever. R. Kelly. Oh, goodness. I think we'll have to edit just a clip from that saying, "I'm going to piss on you," into this video right here. I'm looking at you like you're actually going to do that. He's like, not doing that, no. Next thing is that you want to make sure when you walk in you have dominant body language. A lot of guys screw this up. If you're smiling, typically you're going to be looking up and laughing and being happy. But what you want to do is you want to make sure you project that out. If you're smiling and you're doing this when you're laughing, it's not going to work. You have to smile and you have to be up high. A lot of guys, whenever they experience emotion, they try to slouch or be smaller or look down or hide it. You don't want to do that, especially if your emotion is laughing or happiness. You want it to be something that you project out. So you have to use all the keys that you know about dominant body language. Your shoulders have to be back and down. Your head has to be up. Your chin should pretty much be parallel with the ground. So like this. It's a little bit uncomfortable for a lot of guys to keep their chin up like this when they're looking around. You want to look at people when you walk in too. We'll talk about that in a minute when we get into the eye contact section of this. You want to make sure that your strides are long still, that you're not shuffling. When people shuffle their feet, typically what they're doing is they're afraid they're going to fall down. Like your story. I've fallen down too. I hurt my ankle real bad when I first started wearing boots like this because I was taking wide strides and I just stepped down and I stepped off and rolled my ankle and it hurt, but I had to learn how to walk again basically. I had a similar story where I was in a bar and it's there's tile floors, so when you walk with these boots on tile floors, it's like click, 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 And I liked that a lot, so I was taking really wide strides and it was making loud noise, and I stepped and I didn't realize there was water, and it went shoo, and I did a split right in the middle of everybody. It was this lounge, and I fell on the ground, and I almost grabbed this table going down too, and was like, oh my God! And so I stood up and I was like, I had this great thing that I say now. My friend Mike Hoey sort of taught me a bunch of banter lines. He's the one who taught me basically how to joke. And there's a movie, is it Stripes? I think it was Stripes. Anytime I fall now, I turn around and I go, have that removed. I look at someone like, that was bad. Have that removed. And that's my banter line for that anytime I fall over. So I have a pretty good excuse. I guess I fall over enough to have a reason to to like something to say, stumbling around and stuff. So you want to maintain dominant body language and good posture for at least 10 minutes after you walk in. Really, really, really important. Now, as you go through the night, it's not going to be as important that you hold dominant body language, though it is going to be important. You know, if you can do it the whole night, do it. But if you get tired, some guys don't have the muscle capacity yet to really stand up straight and be as tall as you possibly can and keep their head up and stuff. They start to droop overnight because they get tired. If you have the ability to, though, keep it up the whole time, but at least for the first 10 minutes, at least for that part. And keep smiling, and that allows you to be approachable. And women find that instantly sort of attractive and interesting. That's really, really powerful. So I'm going to go over something now called the bar walk. You guys may have seen this before. If you flip over to the next page in your exercise, you'll see that I have a checklist for you. This is a checklist for your bar walk. You're not going to have this binder with you when you're out, but it's just there when you go out that night. Come back and check and see if you did all these things. You know, go over each one. You have check out where the bathroom is, where the smoking area is, what the bouncer's name is, what's an interesting drink on the menu. You have to go up to the bar. Basically, it's forcing you to go all over the place. Find one girl who's a Sagittarius. This is just forcing you to start asking women about astrology. By the way, when you start doing this, you're going to get hooked on doing it. Women, for some reason, love astrology. I don't know why that is. And then send 2 text messages. You want to go through things. You want to go through that process when you walk into a bar, and what it does is it allows you to keep your state up. It allows you to keep your value up. If you walk into a bar, the second you stop and you don't do something or talk to somebody, your value starts to drop, meaning that you become less attractive as the night goes on. So instead of letting that happen, you have to have something that you have to do, right? You don't want to be running everywhere. It's not like you're trying to race or anything. But for the first 30 minutes or so that you're walking into a bar, you have to have something to do. If you don't, you're going to walk in and do nothing, or you're going to force yourself to talk to women, and you're not going to be warmed up yet. Again, we're going to get into warming up in a minute, or in a little bit later, probably after lunch, after our break. But that checklist is there specifically for you to be able to use it. Now, I'm going to draw sort of what I typically do, what I would suggest you do at a bar. And this is you can do this at a bar or anywhere else, actually. This is the door, let's say. This is the bar. This is an actual, to scale model of a bar. You can take this to the bank here. This will be the bathroom over here, and then maybe there's like another bar over here, say, and then there's people everywhere, right? I'm not going to draw the people in. Here's what I would do if I were you. You'd walk in, take your time walking in, but don't wander around. Walk in and go straight to the bathroom and go in. If you don't have to go to the bathroom, I don't care. Just go in, look yourself in the mirror, see if you have anything in your teeth, and then come back out. Right? That's fine. Then you're going to walk out. You're going to walk over here, come to this bar, and if you want to get a drink, get one. Get water if you don't want to drink. It's perfectly fine. If you're standing at a bar and you don't have something in your hands, people typically are like, "What are you doing?" You know, because you're not following the plausible deniability rule, right? Or you're there for some other reason than to meet people. You know, so even if it's water, you want to have something that you can hang on to. Here or here, come over here, and then you can have a drink or not. Doesn't really matter. If you do have a drink, you can't go outside typically, but if you can, come outside and find a spot where smokers are hanging out. If you don't like smoke, that's okay. Just find out where it is, right? If you don't mind standing around people who are smoking, stand there and talk for a second, because smokers are always really, really open to talking, because that's what they do. They start smoking typically because they want to be social, and they want to be cool. Go back in. Maybe go over here, send a text message, and then what else we got? Oh yeah, and then start talking to people over here and try to find a Sagittarius. I'll put Sag right there. And then after that, you're pretty much warmed up. You can go wherever you want to. So this is sort of the process I go through every time I come to a bar. I go through all this process, and it takes about 15, 30 minutes for me to do the whole thing. Take your time, especially if it's a crowded bar. You'll spend a long time walking back to the bathroom and get back to here. As you go through this process, you want to make sure you maintain that that dominant body language and that sort of grin on your face. If you can think of something funny, that's ideal. And you can also say hello to everyone along the way. And I can I'll go into a little bit more of that in a minute, but here's another fantastic thing to do. As soon as you walk into a place that's busy, if it's not busy, don't do this. As soon as you walk into a place that's busy, just do something that I call the fake hello. That's where you walk in. As soon as you walk in the door, you're smiling, and you go like this. to somebody that everyone assumes is in the back of the room. And then you go, second. And then you just walk wherever you want to. Immediately it's like, okay, this guy knows somebody here. Everyone's staring at you. You're getting everyone's attention, but it looks as though you're looking past everybody. This one's one of my favorite things to do, period, when I walk into a place. So it's the fake hello. Hey, I'll be right there. Just make sure you make friends over there later on, so you can walk over there and talk to somebody. And when you're doing this too, you can be approaching somebody while you're doing it. A lot of guys don't make use of this. Misdirection is one of your best friends when it comes to approaching women, especially in environments like a bar. Misdirection, as in your attention is one way and your body's moving another direction. This is very important because it basically allows you to make an approach without having any of the pressure of walking up and like saying, okay, what am I going to say, what am I going to do, blah, blah, blah. So typically what I'll do is I'll look over here, I'll talk to somebody. So one of my favorite things to do with someone in a bar is I'll be talking to a friend of mine or someone that I just met, and as I'm talking to them, I'll tap someone on the shoulder. I'm not even looking. I just tap someone I want to talk to on the shoulder, and then I'll be like, what do you think about this? And I'll let them keep talking. And then now we're both listening to a guy talk, and we're both hanging out. We'll have a shoulder-to-shoulder body language, which I'll get into later on, which is sort of an us bubble. And it's an easy way to talk to people, guys and girls. It won't matter either way. That's one of my favorite ways, to be honest. If you saw me in a bar, if I were single and I were trying to meet women, that probably would be the first thing you'd see me do. Anyway. So that's sort of something you have to do to pump your state before when you go into. You want to get that social environment going. Someone sees you waving at somebody, smiling, and having dominant body language, they're all going to want to talk to you. They're all going to be very interested in you. Now let's talk about during the day. One of the biggest fears of guys who walk into places during the daytime is to be noticed. I know it sounds kind of random or counterintuitive, but it's true. Our biggest fear is for people to look at us. Attractive guys get looked at all the time. In fact, it's almost so exclusive that if people are looking at you, everyone assumes that you're an attractive guy. Because that's the only time that anyone will look at a guy is if he's like actually an attractive guy when you walk in. You have to be comfortable and become comfortable and get comfortable with people staring at you. You just have to. There's no easy way around that. So that's one of the reasons why I force myself to wear something that kind of stands out a little bit, like my boots or something. It gets attention, or why I walk with long strides. When you do that, people will look at you. It's going to feel a little bit strange in the beginning, especially. So what you want to do is there's a few ways of coming about, like getting people to look at you when you walk into a place during the daytime. And essentially, what you want to come across is like this sort of loud, gregarious guy, sort of loud, talkative, engaging in anybody anybody he wants to talk to, and sort of being high energy, not super high energy, but positive energy whenever you walk into a place. I'm going to tell you how to do that right now. So right before you walk in, obviously, you want to think about something that will make you laugh, even during the daytime. This is really, really powerful. And there are 3 steps. Not 3 steps, sorry. When you get 3 steps into a place when you first walk in is during the daytime. I'm going to read this off the sheet here so I get it in the right order. Take 3 steps in, so you walk in like this, stop, and then look around real quick. You'd never do this in a bar at nighttime, by the way. This is only during the daytime. Stop for a moment, 3 steps in, stop, and look around for a second. You want to get people to look up at you. Whenever you walk into a place during the daytime, you take 3 steps in, then stop and look around. People have something registered in them that says, what's going on? I need to look up. And even if they're not paying attention to you consciously, like directly looking at you, their peripheral will pick you up and they'll automatically want to look at you. It just gets this interesting sort of empty space in the room, right? And that's what you want. You want to be there for about 3 seconds, and then you want to continue. And as soon as you continue, you want to engage someone. So walk in for 3 seconds, and then turn and be like, it's dead in here, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, as long as you talk to somebody. Now, the thing that you're going to do when you talk is that you are going to say it about 4 times louder than you think you probably should. This is really uncomfortable for a lot of guys, right? So say you walk into a cafe. What's the volume at which you want to talk to the person behind the desk? Probably something like this. Hey, what's going on? I'll take a latte and blah, 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 order new food. Thank you so much. Right. So instead you might be like, hey, what's going on? All right, I'll get a latte. You're awesome. Right? That's it. Something that's way, way louder. What you do whenever you do this is you assert a series of dominance triggers on the people around you. You walk in, people are looking at you, you stop and look around, as in you're assessing, like, what's going on here, right? you have to walk in. You're the person who walks in and assesses this stuff. You're that guy, right? The dominant person walks in and goes, is everything okay in here? That's the first thing I think about. Let me see if I need to do anything to make this all okay, right? Someone who's more submissive goes, this is all happening to me, right? They don't think about controlling their environment. Moving stuff around in a place during the daytime is really good too. Pick up a chair, move it to another table, put it down. That's powerful. But engaging someone as soon as you walk in is really important. As soon as you walk in and stop, though, something really interesting will happen. All the single girls who are there at the cafe hoping that someone will come talk to you will look at you. So just make a mental note and then just go talk to all those girls. That's because they're hoping. A lot of women will go to places like that in public and read or something because they're like, oh, I'm just going to go here. And I like being around people whenever I read. Why? Because they want someone to come up and talk to them. And they were looking for that sort of like Prince Charming. To like, oh my God, I was just reading a book at a coffee shop and he walked in and he was, and it was great. We just talked for an hour. Okay, well, why didn't you read your book at your house? Because the dog. Okay, whatever. Whatever you need. That's perfectly fine. So typically what you'll do is you'll weed out all the people who are not interested in the first place, who aren't available. They won't be looking at you as soon as you walk in because you'll stop and you'll sort of create that empty void for them to fill up with attention, and they will do that. Did I just say fill up that empty void with attention? That's a really strange thing to say in a seminar, I just realized. Or ever, actually. Don't quote me on that. After you stop for a minute and you say something, then continue where you wanted to go, right? If you wanted to go order a drink, do that. If you want to sit down, do that. That's perfectly fine. I wrote down on here, say something 3 decibels louder, but I don't know how you'd know if it was 3 decibels louder. Just do it a lot louder than you think you need to. Louder than everyone else in the bar, or not the bar, in the cafe or in the bookstore or whatever, so that the majority, if not everybody in there can hear you and may turn around. Now, you don't want to say, hey, everybody! You don't want to make it look like you're trying to get everyone's attention. Instead, you want to talk to one person, but loud, right? That person's probably going to be uncomfortable because now everyone's looking at them too, but that's okay, And you want to draw people into your world, If you've ever noticed, another thing is if I ever want someone to not mess with me, ever, like I'm in a position where I think there's a lot of aggressive guys around, I'll immediately talk. I'll say one thing. I'll say it really loud. We were in an elevator, and there was these guys in the elevator yesterday or something. It was yesterday or the day before, and maybe it was the day before yesterday. Either way, recently, and it was here in Vegas, and they came in and they had already been drinking, and I was like, these guys could be assholes. It's possible, It looked like they could be kind of dickheads. So Brad turned to me and he was like, said something kind of, because we're in the elevator, he said something kind of soft, like, hey, have you talked to Jay earlier? And I was like, did I talk to Jay? No. That's it. And then the guys were like, and then they were like, hey, you want some Jaeger? Like, they were really nice, But I've tested this before where I walk in and I'm quiet and I do this, and as soon as I do that, guys will assess the other guys in the place and they go, well, there's no other dominant guy here, so I'm going to be the dominant guy. And typically, they don't deserve to be the dominant guy. They don't have everyone's best interest in mind. You do. So you need to be that guy. You have a duty. It's your role. You have to do that. You have to step up. Otherwise, someone else will be leading this interaction, and it's not going to be good. It won't be pretty. So keep that in mind. A lot of people try to go lower volume. They just want to be quieter, and they don't want to be looked at very much, Because everyone's biggest fear is that you're going to go, I'm going to be like, Jay? No. And some guy's going to go, hey, dude, stop yelling. Like, no one's going to do that. And if they do, I'm like, how about this? How about you don't tell me what to do? It might work better, So ultimately, a lot of guys choose submission over dominance because it's easier. And you don't want to do that just because it's easier. Everyone should be able to hear you. After you say this initial thing, though, you can tone it down a little bit. You don't have to be like, hey, and then I was like, hey, it was this guy and stuff. Hey, I'm from Statesboro, Georgia. What are you talking about? That's a David Cross reference there. I got that. So last I'm going to go over the pattern interrupt to the people working behind the counter. And then we're going to go on a lunch break. And that's going to be, an hour lunch break? So hold in there. Hang in there with me. Pattern interrupts. Whenever, like earlier I went over patterns, just briefly, and I talked about how we have subconscious autopilot responses to stuff, right? How you doing? Good. How are you? Right? That's an autopilot response. Whenever people are at work, almost their entire, especially if they have a job they don't really like, almost the entire workday is a pattern, an autopilot response, because it makes the day go by faster and they can think of other stuff while they're doing it, so they have autopilot responses instead. So what you want to do is you want to break these autopilot responses, because any kind of positive reaction you get from anybody in a place is good. You get a positive reaction, other people see that, and then again it creates a domino effect for the people around you. So one way to get them out of that is to, there's a couple, I'll use two right now, and then we'll be done with that. So I don't need to go into it too much because we're not talking about that today. But there are two things. One is the directed question. The directed question is when you ask somebody what it could be a pattern, but you add something on the end of it that makes it not a pattern anymore. For example, I said earlier, how you doing? And he said, good. And I said, how you doing, you sexy man? That was like off. And he's like, what? I didn't expect that, right? Or how you doing today so far is different than how you doing today, right? So far, adding that just so far on the end makes people go, let me actually think about it and see, right? Now, when someone's at work, one way you can pattern interrupt and you can create an us bubble at the same time, which means that you sort of make it seem like you're on their side, because people at work typically don't date customers. They date other people who work with them or people at other jobs that they go to and whatever when they're not at work. So you need to become not a customer all of a sudden. So you want to do a couple things that only friends do to each other and people don't do to baristas or waiters or whoever. And one of those is to ask how their work is going so far. Because that's something you ask your friend, how's work? Oh, it sucks, blah, 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 right? That statement, just how's work so far, is so powerful. I've used that and I've gotten free drinks, free food, just from asking that one question. And talking about I've talked about other customers, like, that guy's kind of an asshole, and like just been talking about whatever. That brings me to the second thing, and that is the positive curse. Positive cursing, make sure there's no kids around whenever you do this, but if you walk up, one of the biggest pattern interrupts or like pattern breaks that you can do is cursing as a customer to, or not to or at, but with the person who's working, and doing it in a positive way. So if they say, how you doing? You might go, you know what? I'm fucking great. And that's it. That's all your statement. Immediately they go, whoa, that person just cursed, but it's okay because they're a customer and I can laugh, and they do. And it automatically takes them out of that sort of like, whoa, this is a customer relationship kind of thing. And if you say it and they're like, that's good, what would you like? Then just drop it. Don't continue. Don't try to like, let me dance around and make you laugh when you're at work. Nothing like that. So instead you want to make sure that if you do curse, it's something like, I'm damn good, or I'm good as shit, or whatever, you can throw in a curse word in there. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to curse. It's okay. You don't have to be cordial and nice all the time like that and be like all prim and proper. Make sure you take that part out of you a little bit and show it to them.